Hi, Ken Goodwin here with SupportCaliforniaBusiness.com, and I'm super excited and blessed to be here today with a good friend of mine and Pastor Anthony with Roar Church here in Camarillo, California. Anthony, pleasure.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
It's good to be on.
Well, you and your wife started this. Maybe tell us why and tell us a little bit about that journey.
Sure. So to keep it short, because we don't have an hour for me to tell you this whole story. Back in 2019, I was on the Christian recording artist scene before I became, I was always a pastor on a staff at a church and traveled the nation for, 18, 17 years, something around there. And I had came here to California on a booking, and I was helping out a broadcasting network. And as we were coming down the mountain into Camarillo, we were getting ready to plant a church in Orlando. I had just done this massive live recording. We had 3,000 plus people come out to it. We're thinking life is going to be so good. We're going to plant a church off of the momentum of this recording, where everybody had a couple hundred people to plant a church. We're going to run out of the gates with 1,000 plus, and life is just going to be, God has called us to the promised land. God flipped the script on that real quick. And we're coming down the mountain, and the Lord spoke to me, and he said, "You're going into a valley of dry bones, but I'm about to awaken a major army, and there's a revival that's going to be released from Ventura County." And we're on the bus with our whole team, and I just tapped my wife on the shoulder, and I said, "Hey, I don't want to freak you out, but God literally just spoke a word over me and said that there's a major revival that's getting ready to break out, and that we're going to be a major part of this." And she looked at me and she said, "Absolutely not." And she knew in that moment what that meant, and I knew what it meant as well, because it's pretty scary when, in Orlando, obviously the state is different. Taxes are different. We owned a home there. Our life was great there. And our influence was really great there. Mm-hmm. I had never been to California before. That was our very first time. And so everything is running through my mind. How do you plant a church with no influence? And through that time, they were bringing me back pretty often. And we were praying about, God, what are you saying? We need clarity in this season, because we thought we were planning in Orlando and we felt like it was your word, but now we feel there's a difference in this. And it was on a Thursday morning. I was praying. That broadcasting network had got us a condo to stay in as we were traveling back and forth. It was about Thursday, about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I was just walking around the kitchen area. It was a pretty wide open space, and just praying. And God said, as clear as day, and I can still remember it, he said, "If you plant in Orlando, it will be built off of you, and it will be successful. But if you plant in California, this will be built off of me." And that's all I needed, because I knew I get choked up, because it was a major,
I'm getting goosebumps. You just telling that story.
It was a major crossroad in our life. You look at the story where Jesus says, "Sell all your possessions, give everything away for the kingdom of God." And we did that. And we sold everything, gave up everything, took away all of our retirement fund, everything that we had saved up, over $100,000+, and we said, we're giving it to God. We're going to plant it into the church. We knew nobody here, but we just knew that God said, "If you'll give everything, I'll give you everything." And obviously, in the course of 5 years, church planting, still church planting, sure. Even with God's blessing, you're still going to go through the mountaintop times, and it's part of the process. What I've learned that's so beautiful about the story of where we are, the joy is not the destination. The joy has been found in the journey.
Yeah, the journey.
And just walking with God, and who, we preach, and who are you becoming in God? I look at my life and go, in 5 years, I have massively became somebody that I don't even know. And I love it. Yeah. And it's because I'm forced to walk with God in a whole different place. But that's how we came here. When we planted the church, COVID hit. At that time, Britt and I were serving on the faith board for President Trump at that time. We knew what was getting ready to come, in the works. And so we had time to prep, and we told our church to prep. But even in knowing that, we still didn't know what we were really facing, because at that time we're planning, we were renting out a space in Ventura County. We knew we wanted to be in Camarillo because of the prophetic word that God had spoken to us. But in that, you go from, you're renting a building, we immediately pop off from 20 people to 30 people to 40 people to 50, 60 people on Friday nights is when we were renting out this space, or Saturday nights, excuse me. And then COVID hits, and they're like, "You're a young church, we're an older church, you guys need to go." And we totally understood. It wasn't anything negative.
Sure.
So we're filming out of the house, and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and then all of a sudden, we just kept plowing the ground. You can always find excuses, but it's those who are willing to work hard through it. And I'm a big believer in work through the bleed, and the bleed is temporary. But if you'll work through it and be faithful in the small thing, God will make you ruler of the big thing. I teach our church all the time. We often want all these big doors to swing wide in our lives. Big doors swing on little hinges. Are you willing to do the things that nobody else is willing to do? Often those things are choose not to quit. Right. So we chose not to quit and kept plowing, and God has been just beyond faithful.
No, I love that amazing story. And Florida's lost our games.
Yeah. Our biggest problem now is we've ran out of room, and real estate here, as we know, is what it is. But it's been a wild ride, really wild ride.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you've done so much for the community. Maybe expand a little bit on a priority in 2025 that could really benefit the community as you move forward.
Yeah. So some years back, I'm a huge sport guy. We built the church literally. When I came here, I went through every excuse on why I shouldn't be a pastor. And I didn't want to play the church games. I didn't want to be the normal, typical preacher. And Jesus, just confirmed in me and constantly spoke words of encouragement over me in prayer that just be you, and I'll take care of everything else. So I played ball all the time. I realized in my life some of the greatest influences that there were not always in the church section, but it was in coaching and in basketball. And so 2 years ago, we launched a thing called Roar Athletics, where every Saturday we give free training to kids here. We rent out a park, and we've done that for 2 years straight. We're going to continue to do that. The game plan that we're building for is we eventually want to build a church, a bigger one than where we are now, but we want a school. We want to do, the full thing and get into the sports and the activities, because, not everybody will always come inside the four walls of a church, but if you can affect that next generation and coach them right and do all that, that's where it's at. And so, it's not for us that we're adding anything. We're just being consistent in what we're called to. And so that this year, we're getting ready to launch like flag football leagues for kids. We want to get into the soccer leagues. I'm a basketball freak, as you know. We want to get into the AAU side and affecting all that. And, just constantly, I tell the guys all the time, if you would just tithe to the church, we'll build a gym and we won't have these problems anymore. And we can do what we're called to do. And it's not just build some big church, but it's called to affect the community. And we want to give, there's so many kids that don't have the opportunity to get the Mamba training, and they don't have the opportunity. So what do you do for those kids? In my opinion, it's the church's job. It's the church's job to create a space, but more importantly, it's the people's job to look at the church, find the church that realizes there's a greater vision than just inside these four walls. I'm here to affect California. I'm more here to affect Ventura County.
Sure. So, I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. What's maybe a fun fact that very few people know about you, your wife, your family, or the church?
So my wife is crazy. And
we may have to cut that.
In a good way. She is the funny, the jokester. I am for sure the more serious one. However, when we speak, I think sometimes the roles switch. I become so alive where off stage I'm very quiet, and people will often be like, "He seems a little rude." I'm homebody. I love my wife. I love being at home with my kids. I love doing family stuff 24/7. But what people don't realize is how much I love the game of basketball. I would quit this to be there any day of the week. I didn't ask to become a pastor.
Right.
I wanted to become a basketball star.
Sure.
So that's, if I could live in a gym, and maybe one day, maybe the gym is the church and the church is the gym. But that's what most people don't know is we're normal people.
Yeah.
We really are normal people, and we try to maintain that. I always say, don't be so heavenly minded you're not no earthly good, but you can't be so earthly minded that you're no heavenly good. So I just try to live in a balance.
Yeah.
I did an interview with my good friend that's here this morning, and in one of the questions I was asked, I said, people often forget that big doors swing on little hinges.
So, one of the last questions I like to ask is, if you could time travel, would you go into the future or the past? Which one and why?
So I am not one to ever go back. I'm a fall forward all day long. I think the future, just from a biblical side of things, is where the greater glory is. And in all of our lives, we all have past mistakes. What I have come to find out is how beautiful our mistakes move us into our promise. So even on my worst things that I've walked through, and I've walked through some devastating things, and I wouldn't change any of it. I really wouldn't, because of the story that it's put inside of us, the testimony that's put inside of us, the faithfulness where we've seen God's hand. So I'm going forward all day long.
Yeah.
And I know the vision that God has called us to. So if I could pull that vision right now, I would.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't care what's happened before.
Right.
I want to, here it is. My eyes are going forward. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, if people want to learn more about you and the church,
Sure.
Where can they go?
Yeah. roarchurch.org is our website. Instagram handle at Roar Church Cali, Facebook at Roar Church Cali, YouTube at Roar Church Cali. You could go to any of those if you want to learn about what we believe. We believe in Jesus. We believe in the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. Nothing more, nothing less. But people often ask this question, you want to know who I am? Come be around who I am. If you think I'm just this preacher, that everything in my life is great because of what I do on Sundays, you're crazy. So life is learned by being around those that want to do life with us.
Yeah.
And we approach Jesus like we do with everybody, relationally. I'm a relationship person through and through. I love people. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll put those details in the description below in the video. It's just been a phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
It's been great to be here. I'm hearing your story. I've just really been blessed to get to know you and your family as well. You'll see in the video additional clips of this space. But until next time, just remember, when you support local, you not only make a purchase or a donation, you make a difference.
it's facts.
All right, throw your hands up. Let me pray our dismissal. Father, I thank you for our incredible church. I pray a blessing over them. God, as they go forth, I pray over businesses right now. I pray that you would begin to pour out your blessing over them. Give us great favor. Give them great favor.